There you go.
All right, we're back. I don't know what happened. We lost everybody for a minute, but we are here. Yeah. So if you're missing what we were talking about COSK. Well, here's what happened in the discussion. It went from like a couple of people that I'm pretty sure know each other and being like fun with each other. Um, it turned into somebody posting what I thought was a very it was dark but also funny but also bringing to the point joke that has been. Here's the thing: a lot of people online have used all types of ways to bring up Breonna Taylor as a motivation to get arrested. I was going to run for a walk today, but I was thinking instead it'd be a great day to arrest Breonna Taylor's murderers. I've seen that happen over and over again. And I thought the post that was the comment that was made where they jokingly said these are the producers at CYSK and it was the cops that need to be arrested for the murder of Breonna Taylor was not only a funny way to take a shot at the producers of CYSK, but also a thing to remind people that like there's more important shit that we could actually be mad about. Was what I took it as.
Right.
I didn't take it the way that the way that the people that have seemed to have gone after the person who posted that have approached it has been as if he was dismissing the struggle of the people, but I didn't see it that way at all. Bobby Buds posted a picture. I don't want to do that because I don't want to involve people. They've made their issues very clear, and I'm not trying to shit on those people's emotions either. You know what I mean? Like I'm not trying to tell them they're wrong for feeling upset about that. I absolutely get why they might feel that way, but also like other than telling Bobby you don't like that, I don't know. Like now, is it a chance that there's some people who might have just not liked Bobby already? Well, that's the other part of it. Like an opener. This is like an opener. That's the other part of it. Is like, when a guy Bobby doesn't
Always help himself. Let's be honest, right? Like,
Yeah.
Bobby doesn't help himself sometimes, and I think a lot of people will judge somebody based on how they perceive them to be, and then if that person fits it in any way, it becomes really easy to just classify everything they do as that, right? And I think that is the case with Bobby. And he is a guy who's come from being very immature to like knowledgeable of at least where his immaturity is, which is, I think that's a step in the right direction though, because his humor is largely built around the recognition of exactly the level of immaturity he has, which is important. Even if it's not always necessary, but it is. But like the risks that have to be taken sometimes to find where the humor is it's important to know when you've gone too far, and it's important to know like when it can still be funny even though it's close to the edge. And I think he tries that.
You know who Bobby reminds me of? He kind of reminds me of, not in the villainy sense of it, but like that part of, especially the Heath Ledger's Joker, where he's just kind of like, come on, I'm just having fun, as he's blowing shit up.
I think also
sometimes.
I think also, the amount of time that somebody spends actually performing acts to show who they are is important also. And I know that Bobby doesn't just sit on the sidelines when it comes to some of the things that are involved in some causes as well. And so to like the fact that he decides to try and make light of something, but also call out attention to something is something that can be taken a few different ways. And that's kind of how edgy jokes work, right? Like some of them definitely go too far. And there's been times where I've seen Bobby post something, I'm like, fuck, man, I know that's supposed to be funny, but also I want to be mad at you right now. And there's other times where I'm like, that's going to make some people mad, but also some people are just going to be mad about everything you do because they're mad at you.
You know, this, and I hate, first of all, to jump in, but also to make this comparison.
Yeah.
The people I think who are complaining about the jokes Bobby Buds is making right now are the same people who would complain about anything Richard Pryor said or George Carlin said. Because at the time, they were saying the most inappropriate fucking things imaginable to elicit a response.
Sure.
And while they're not exactly the same message at all, it's the same intent. And those people, I think, kind of fall into the same puritanical category that everyone who would be outraged at them fell into at the time. So
I think, and also let's call out a little bit of the fact that because Bobby is who he is, like a cis white male.
Yeah, he's not the best
Sure.
vessel for this.
Some of the shit
He
that
is-
he says gets attacked or gets viewed at an angle that if I said the exact same joke, people just might be like, "Oh, XL tripping," but nobody's coming at me for it.
Right.
If
You know what I mean?
if somebody like Ed Towns had posted that,
He would have gotten love from everyone.
everybody would have
Actually,
high
if
fived him
Ed
at the
Towns had
next
posted
trigger
the thing
warning.
with the cops, if Ed Towns had posted the thing with the cops, that might have been his biggest post ever. Biggest wedding announcement. And that's not Ed Towns. I just think that's how funny that would have been. But like, it would have been funny and poignant. Like, shut the fuck up about this real shit, and also, yeah, like he's also making light of himself. You know?
Yeah, and I don't know. Again, I don't know everybody's interpersonal relationships. Maybe Buds is a total shithead to the people that are mad at him, and that's why they find their opening. Maybe it's just a general dislike because they've heard him 3 times. I don't know. I know how I felt when I saw that. I saved that. I sent that to a group of fellow black guys that are also comics, and we all laughed real hard about it. That's what happened, and not with any disrespect to anybody. We were because we all agreed, like, look, he's bringing up like something that's way more important right now, but also in a very funny way. It's just a guy who a lot of people like don't like for plenty of other reasons, both worthy and not. You know what I mean? Like,
Man, there's some people. Like, here's the thing. There's some people, and I'm not going to say names.
I mean, do you think Bobby Buds voted for Donald Trump? Do you actually think that's the case? That's laughable to me.
So-
If you've had more than a 5-minute conversation with Bobby Buds, that's not how that man actually feels about anything. So,
Yeah.
Real quick, one more
Wait, you
interjection.
think Bobby Buds voted? No.
One more. That's good. One more interjection.
That's a
and
crazy thing is that I bet you he did. That's
and I'll stop.
That's,
Jonah Jerkins once again in the chat says the best
yeah.
thing that Ed called out, that if a thread has more than 20 comments, eventually someone will say "fuck Bobby Buds," and that's exactly what happened.
It can be about anything. It can be about anything.
usually about 20 comments in is when Bobby Buds finds his stride. But then he's found a way to really like get under somebody's skin. He's noticed somebody who he can lay into and make it work. So it happens that way. But
Hey,
yeah, it's nice to see
wonder who
Chicago
the fuck we're
Comedy
talking
Night.
about. Watch the show Hillary. It's on People on Comedy Network.
Yeah. If you want to get a good idea of who we're talking about, find Hillary wherever you listen to podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple, whatever your fucking addiction is, and listen to just try an episode of Hillary and understand that these are both men who are admittedly not the brightest men. They just they know exactly who they are,
Bobby
and they're
Buds is
hoping you understand it as well because they are not good at explaining it. It's Todd Massey and Bobby Buds.
Oh my god! It was Todd Massey. Oh Jesus! Oh, I can't believe I'm not watching. I can't believe I don't watch and listen to that podcast all the time. Hey, Bobby Buds, Todd Massey. I'm sorry. I'm on board. I'm totally sorry. I did not know. I forgot that Todd Massey was the other person.
Yeah. Todd Massey is the only person I know who, like, if the bubonic plague came back, he would get it first.
He get it first. But what's better is he'd have an amazing story. He'd have an amazing story about how he got the bubonic plague and survived. You won't believe it, XL. You wouldn't believe it. Did I hit him? Did I hit him a little bit right there?
Yeah. He's got one arm left. And, he's just like, you have no idea how this leprosy came back. It's so wild. It's just so
I'm at the bar.
Yeah, it's always at the bar. I don't know what's happening. I don't remember a whole lot, but here's what I remember. That's a Todd Massey story.
You know what's funny? I've known Todd Massey literally I've done comedy for 10 years. My anniversary was like 2 weeks ago, 10 years of comedy. And Todd Massey was one of the first people I met right along the same time I met James. We were on a thing called Edge Comedy. Yeah. And almost every conversation, every time I get alone with it's just me and Ed and we're chilling. I mean, me and Todd and we're chilling. He starts telling me a story about something. He always goes, X, you know where I work, right? I have no fucking idea where Todd works. 10 years. Known him 10 years. Love the guy. Like a brother, man. He says every time he starts saying, you know about my job, right? No, Todd, you never say. You always say, you know where I work, and then I say no, and then you tell the story.
He says it like he works for like British intelligence secretly. You know what I mean? Like he works at a bar. He's
Yeah.
He works in the bar industry. That's a good. His day job is in the bar industry. He tells it like it's a big secret. I work in this industry that's so magical and secret that
and he always names people that he works with. Like I've been to his job. Yeah, Tony, the one with he got the thing on his face. I've never fucking seen Tony, Todd. No, I don't know Tony.
You still don't know where you work, Todd.
I appreciate the descriptor because now I have something in my head to kind of put a picture together of Tony, but I never met him. Don't know him.
Well, in spite of those guys, the left is still succeeding. So the left is still succeeding. It seems like every election that's been going on, except for where that one QAnon supporter won in a place where all the QAnon people live.
That's got to be super racist, Georgia.
The Democrats seem to be winning. Ilhan Omar retained her seat again this week in her primary race that she was in. That makes all the squad members still alive. They won. They won by wider margins. They won the first time. So they won by wider margin. They won the first time. That doesn't bode well. That doesn't bode well for Trump and his people as the Senate races are coming on. It's gonna be a tough one.
Two things are happening. Right before the show started, I heard a few Republican senators basically say we're going to fund the post office. So Trump's whole stance or whatever is about to fold, and their whole rationale for doing all the bullshit they're doing. But beyond that, I feel like right now he's doing what I always imagined white people would do if they lost power. And it's just like, all right, if we're not going to run this motherfucker, run it into the ground. And it feels like he's like, if I'm not going to win, then America doesn't get to be whatever. And
this is what last grasp of power look like, right? Like this is the way people try and maintain power all the time.
But the thing about that is usually there's like a family, there's like a legacy, there's something. Like these motherfuckers attached onto this dude 3 years ago, 4 years ago. And some of them weren't even on board 4 years ago. Like they came, like Lindsey Graham came in way after the inauguration.
Yeah, a lot of them
it was like 8 months after the inauguration, and he was like, fuck it.
A lot of the motherfuckers was late.
Crocodile, let's go.
Yeah, they're in trouble. They're trying to do everything they can. I mean, if you watched our midweek mini, if you haven't seen it, get over to YouTube and check it out. Those midweek minis are only on YouTube. X and I talked about Kamala Harris being the VP pick, and they are trying everything to try and disavow her. There is Mark Levin who got on TV, and have you seen the Mark Levin shit on online?
No, what did he say?
Mark Levin is you know who Mark Levin is, right? The conservative, conservative cat. So he got online. There's like a whole minute 20 where he does one of these quiet, like fireside chats where he's breaking down like why she's not supposed to be considered an African American, like breaking down her history.
Oh, yo, okay, right. That cat, man, dude.
What the fuck, man? Like she black, dog. She black.
I love her response to this shit because Mark Levin, here's the thing. White people making that argument, I get white people making an argument for two reasons. One, they haven't taken the time to understand us. That Mark Levin probably does. He knows like two black people and thinks he knows black culture. He watched like one black movie. He saw Black Panther. He's like, I get it. I saw Black Panther. I get you. Yeah, I get you guys. But black people are making the same case that he's making.
Right.
I see black people making that case. And that is...
What a surprise. Are you surprised by this? Well, let me explain to you as a light-skinned person who is black. Let me tell you how difficult it is to make the case for blackness.
Tell them why you're mad, Bobby. Tell them why you're mad.
I end up having to argue this shit all the time. I'm constantly arguing with people about this shit. Like, I didn't choose to, like... I didn't make the rules on what equal blackness here. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't make the rules. I do have to live with all of the rules and repercussions of the rules, though, regardless of any of that. So I'm going to go ahead and embrace what the rules say, as long as the rules say it. And trust me, I'm a bad motherfucker, so you want me on the squad, okay? Like, why would you try and deny the opportunity to say you have a black vice president if you're black? That is ridiculous to me. But additionally, on top of that, like, her father's from Jamaica. I don't know how you think black people got to Jamaica.
Like,
but like the quick
idea-
answer is Africa. Africa is how they got to America. If you want the quick short answer of how they got there, so she's black. Okay.
I wish I had thought about this in advance, and we'd be filming this from Jamaica, because I wish that I was in Jamaica when black people in Jamaica found out they weren't black people. What
Right.
you say now?
Right. Well, the
You
other
know,
thing
sir, we're not black, yeah.
the other thing they wanted to bring up about the birtherism shit, which we didn't cover on the show because it came out recently, was the fact that what was the other? Oh, that she has ancestry that was a plantation owner. She's got this guy from way back in her history was a plantation owner. Well,
So
I want to explain something for white people who may not have figured this out yet. There's a lot of black people who are the descendants of slaves who have an ancestor who's a slave owner, because when you are a slave owner, you can fuck any slave you decide you want to fuck. And if that slave gets pregnant and has a kid, that's just your little slave baby, because that's how those rules work. So
that's your property. Actually, technically, Bobby, let's just say if I transported my soul back in time as a white man and I was a slave owner, of course you fucking your slaves. That's like re-upping at the drug dealer. Like, wait a second, I get to rape this bitch and I'm gonna get more property. That's the goal. I'm not endorsing it. I'm saying, yeah, that's what happened.
That is what happened, though. I think. Well, one of the things that I think people don't pay. I mean, people think about slavery being horrific, but they don't really realize how horrific that actually is, right?
Because they never want to talk about it.
They don't think about that. Well, look at this whole argument that people are bringing up about the idea that she's got an ancestor who is a slave plantation owner. Yeah, because y'all were raping us.
Yeah.
Like are you trying to put out how shitty you were?
My family, the size of my family, my last name is Johnson. There's not a tribe of fucking Johnsons.
Y'all didn't just pick that because you thought the dude was cool, did you? You were just like, man, you were so good to us. We're going to take up your last name.
Yeah, I know I have my freedom and the right to go back to my tribal ancestors and everything that I know and love before you rape the ticket. But I'm going to keep your name.
The funny thing is the guy who brought this up was John Eastman. And despite the fact that John Eastman I forget what his title was, but he was a professor and dealt with constitutional shit. But John Eastman lost in a primary to try and go up against Kamala Harris in 2010. So the guy who brought this up is essentially a sore loser guy. Like, he couldn't even get out of the Republican primary to face her in 2010 when she was running. That's the guy who started all this bullshit. Just so we know who is behind it all.
It bothers me that it's even a conversation, man. Like, out of all the shit we're gonna talk about, you want to talk about her record? You want to talk about her record? Let's talk about her record. You want to talk about her personally? The producer of this show, not a fan of her record. Talk about a record. That I respect that he's not a fan of her record. We can talk about the record, talk about it all day. But talking about whether or not she's black,
right?
Insane.
I mean, to what? For what? Well, here's the thing.
For you get to be both. You get to be black and Indian. You get to do both.
For what purpose? For what purpose? So okay. So let's say she's not black. Now what? What are we talking about? Let's say you've got an argument to say that she's not black. Then what? Can she still be president? There's been a whole bunch of non-black people that's been president before and vice president. So
I fuck strong with Indian people. Shout out my homie Sandash Bilgi.
I mean, she's the descendant of African.
Loves shout outs. I don't know. Bobby's off his game. Sandash Bilgi loves shout outs.
She's a descendant of Africans. She's born in America, hence African American. This isn't a very hard thing. That is if we get to vote at all.
Hey, here's the thing about the get to vote at all. The insanity about Trump's play with the post office and everything that he's doing, I know we're about to get into it in detail, is
we're doing it right now.
Hey, motherfucker, we vote neither way. As a matter of fact, I got a plan. Bobby, I got a plan. Halloween, right before the election, right? Everybody wear a hazmat suit for Halloween. Everybody just get a hazmat suit for Halloween. You wear that motherfucker 3 days later for the election. If this nigga, hey, you want to fuck with mail-in ballots? Cool. We're going to be standing in line in our Halloween hazmat costumes. And there's nothing that is keeping me from voting that motherfucker out.
So I've been in arguments with people in these conservative groups about who is fucking up the post office. And a lot of them want to complain about how shitty the post office has been for years. And that doesn't have anything to do with the fact that the guy is currently trying to make it shittier. They have been, dismantling booths at post offices, slowing down times. The Postmaster General is a Trump donor who's got money into a whole bunch of other shit. That's Louis DeJoy. He's got financial interest in a bunch of competitors and contractors outside of the post office. So he's been slowing down the agency on purpose.
They were taking apart sorting machines.
Yeah, they're taking apart sorting machines.
Making brand and not just taking them apart, Bobby, taking them apart and throwing them away. Like literally disposing of them.
Oh yeah.
Like those are assets. You don't throw those away. If anything, you sell them. I'm like, nobody else. No, there's like UPS wouldn't want to like take those off our hand and make. This is some classic Trump shit. Like just like instead of he is such a sledgehammer to everything. He has zero finesse. The concept of maybe doing something in a way that might, like even kind of appear that it was legit, and we didn't find out till later that it was a misdirect. Nah, this motherfucker just literally stops production at the post office, and it's insane. But here's the thing: the post office is basically the post office and the postal workers are like, we're gonna do it either way. Give us the money or not. We're gonna figure it out. So
yeah, we'll figure it out. Well, it used to be not only self-funded, where they required no taxpayer dollars, but they also made like billions of dollars in government profit, which was surplus. And so what happened was the GOP created a situation which they had to create like 75 years of pensions within like a 10-year period from the profit that they had. So they had to fully fund 75 years worth of pensions in 10 years in a liquid account, which means they were like funding pensions for people who weren't born yet. That's what the GOP law that they passed
in
was forced to do.
Was that 1971?
No, this was like recently. This was in the last 20 years.
Oh, okay.
It went from a surplus around in the early 2000s to losing money because they had to fully fund all this. This was fully funded pensions for like people that hadn't been born yet, and this is not something that you'll see in the public or private sector anywhere.
No,
so like.
Also, they're not allowed to do anything with their pricing at all. They have to go to Congress to raise the price of a stamp or to raise the price of.
But like, you got to understand what's going on though. So like, so you can understand what's happening. Like, imagine if you'd been paying rent on time forever, and then your landlord, because he wanted you out, said you have to renew your lease. You have to pay for 20 years of your lease right now, and you had 3 months to do it. Yeah. Like there's no way you could do that. So like that's how you end up losing money. So they've had like over $100 billion tied up just because they couldn't use it. So it's not that they didn't have money. They didn't have money they can use. They've had to fully fund pensions for people that don't even work for the post office yet. Like they have to have pensions funded for people who will be working for the post office someday. And so that is why they're in the financial position they're in. But guess what? It's a government entity. It's not supposed to it doesn't matter if it makes money. We don't ask how much money the U.S. military has lost. We don't go, well, what about the $750 billion we spent on the military that didn't go to like enough wars this year?
Yeah.
That's not a thing we do.
Yeah, by the way, that's an interesting thing. The military should have like a big bunch of money to give back, right? There's like nothing going on in the world right now. The whole world shut down for 5 months. Y'all weren't stopping any wars and shit. War apparently took a few months off.
Why don't we fund the fucking post office with all that extra military money we're not using? You know what I mean? Like
nobody's flying sorties. Like nobody.
There's nothing Everybody's home.
There should be some extra military money laying around. This is gonna be the shit that get us taken, James.
Yeah, they're come for us on this.
That did it.
It's just, the attacks against the post office to me are just ridiculous. It makes no sense to me. I don't know there's nowhere else in the world where you can put there's nowhere else you can put a 50-cent stamp on something in the US and have it show up at somebody's crib in like 2 days. That's just not.
That's insane. It's insane.
Anywhere in the States, the shitty town that Amazon uses the postal service to deliver to the shit towns. We talked about this last week. So there's no sense in that. Trump is also trying to defer the payroll tax with the payroll tax cut. This is super dumb. This is money you will end up having to pay later on.
It's dumb. Anybody who's ever owned a business, if you have employees, payroll tax is the thing that is the biggest chunk that you see. It's just like that first check when you're 16 and you're like, who the fuck is FICA? When the first time you see payroll tax, especially if you have a decent sized workforce or you have employees, you lose your shit. You're like, what? Right. And that's why all people who own business It sounds good, but it'd be one thing if he was, again, same thing. He is just a hammer. He has no finesse. He has no other tool in his shed. He's just a hammer. And he didn't even know, Bobby. You can tell if you like watch people's faces when they react to something.
Right.
When he signed that fake ass memorandum, which wasn't even a full blown executive order about the payroll tax, he didn't know that by doing that he would no longer be funding Social Security and Medicare. Because if he and the reason why I know he didn't know is because when he was asked about it, his response was, no, we're going to use a general fund.
Yeah, it'll defer money. I think it's something like 6.2% or 6.3% or something of employee payroll taxes that are supposed to pay for Social Security and Medicare, which is, the same people that forced a postal service to give up a bunch of money so they could fund pensions is now trying to take money from Social Security and Medicare to defer money for people that they're going to have to end up paying down the road anyway.
And the people and the fucking right, if you're a right-wing business owner, you're thinking, I'm telling you, I understand how big payroll tax is, but if you're thinking that's a good idea, you're a moron, because he's not getting rid of it. He's deferring it. You still owe the money. So you're going to have a huge tax bill come January or early spring next year, that you're not going to be able to pay because the economy is about to go in the shitter.
Nobody's in favor of it.
And it's about to get worse.
Nobody's in favor of it. We're also still losing 1,000 people a day to COVID. That's still, you gotta not vote for the dude, right? Like, I don't know what you're doing, but it's crazy to me.
Like, if the people who have been like Kamala Harris was announced.
Still struggling with that one, huh?
Here's the thing that's fucked up. I swear to God, the people, go back and look at the videos, man. I did not fuck up her name until she became VP. For some reason, it just all of a sudden it became a thing.
I'll start calling you Tucker Carlson.
Yeah, there you go. That piece of shit.
His is on purpose.
Kamala.
His is on purpose.
Yeah, of course his is. Sorry, I get the fucking name. The people are coming at her like there's people like the whole she's not black or she's this or she was that. Hey, we don't have another fucking option, okay? There's not a third party coming in to say we're not fucking voting for Kanye, okay? The Kardashians aren't voting for Kanye, all right? So there is no other option. Trump is not keeping Trump. We have seen Trump does not know. It would be different if the Republicans had an able body in the office where it was like, no, we can pressure him or we can talk to him or we could work with him. If we take the Senate, we could work with him and then we wouldn't have to. We don't have another option. Right. There's no other fucking lifeboat. It's one lifeboat. It's an old white dude who says weird shit and a chick that used to be a cop. That's the option.
Did you see the meme? Did you see the meme that showed? Did you see the meme that showed what we ordered, and it was Bernie and Elizabeth, and what we got?
On Wish, but we ordered it on Wish, and it came back Biden and Harris. And here's the thing: I'm a fan of Harris. I'm a fan of hers. She was my horse. We have a whole podcast where I break.
It's a weird
down,
thing to call the vice presidential nominee.
Horse in the come on, man. Horse in the race. It's a race. She was my horse.
But somebody's gonna make Facebook posts about you.
But I'm canceled. That's it. That's what did it. But I dig her, and that's where my more moderate leanings or whatever land. But I am so disgusted by what's happening in our country right now, how our country is being represented right now, that had he picked an old boot, I'd have been out, boot 2020, old boot 2020. The boot has a chance to win in 2024. We got to support the boot.
Gotta support the boot. Gotta support the boot. He's been trying to, so have you read any of the Cohen forward to the the book he's dropping out? You read it? I haven't read it yet. It's not been the focus of my, I feel like it's a little distracting.
What did Fortnite come out with now?
Fortnite is my retreat from all this shit. That's I've been avoiding it because I've been watching other news shit. I've been avoiding. When I go to Fortnite, it's to get away from all of that.
So when
But the
I
cars
said
are
I
dope.
read it, much like somebody who watched or read a book or got a book on tape, you didn't
Right.
read it, you fucking listened to it. I
Right.
sort of did both. Maddow, the top of her show, basically read the whole fucking thing and had it up on the screen.
That's how you
It was
saw
like
it.
story time with Maddow.
Your auntie Rachel had it on.
Auntie Rachel had it on, and we're the same age, so that's weird. But
Parents are weird, you know.
yeah. But anyway, it is a distraction. But here's what I like about it is that it's another fucking ball that he has to juggle going into election. And the more shit, apparently, since nothing sticks to this motherfucker, how about we just keep throwing shit at him and just throwing shit at him? I want Ghislaine Maxwell to drop some shit. I want the woman who he assaulted in the 70s to drop some shit.
Could you imagine if her name was actually? Could you imagine her name was actually pronounced Ghislaine?
That's what it looks like, Ghislaine.
I mean, it's a wild profession to be in and have a name that looks like that, right?
It's maybe it's like naming your girl Trixie, and
then being surprised that she's
a stripper. Like, come on, man, come on.
So you kind of set up for this one, yeah. I mean, but the thing for me is like, sure, it's another ball to juggle, but I don't want people to be asking him about golden showers. That's not what I am interested in. That's not the questions I want him being asked right now.
Here's why I disagree with you.
Yes, tell me why. Tell me why talking about golden showers is more important than cops and than federal alleys in Chicago.
He's not going to answer the other shit, and asking him about golden showers is the only thing that puts him off his game.
He's not gonna. He's gonna tell you Michael Cohen's a piece of shit, and then tell you more about the dumb shit he's doing instead of being pressed on the hard shit. Like, I think it's just dumb. I mean, it's fine. Put a book out.
I don't have any. Here's the thing that Trump has done that breaks my heart to say, but I feel it. I have lost a little bit of faith in the press. And the reason why I've lost a little bit of faith in the press is because
just now.
I'll give you an example. Andrea Mitchell, man. I watched Andrea Mitchell today. And she had a rep from Trump on, and she just let this mother. It was like soliloquies briefly interrupted with Andrea Mitchell farts.
Don't you know what's going? Don't you? I mean, come on. It's
MSNBC. They're making a horse race. Yeah, they're making a horse race.
They need a show.
It's insanely frustrating. Like, you just let this dude just run all kind of crazy shit on your airwaves. It's disgusting. It's frustrating, and it bothers the fuck out of me.
You know, there's other sources for news. You don't have to watch MSNBC all the time.
I don't watch. I do. You know, I watch everything. You know, I watch financial. I actually watch OAN for an hour without vomiting.
I mean, like, you could watch Democracy Now, or you can get it.
I listen to Democracy Now mostly. I don't watch it. Democracy Now is a tough watch.
I mean, I just think like I think it's silly to be surprised by what MSNBC puts on television. I mean.
It's not. I'm not surprised. Andrea Mitchell is a respected journalist, man.
She's still on MSNBC though. Like it doesn't. It's like saying that like my uncle is a good cop. It's like, yeah, but they're still on the force.
So here's what I'm saying. Joy Reid, Rachel Maddow would have lit that motherfucker on fire. She literally like dropped the mic and let him talk.
I mean, that's probably why he's on there, though. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, he's not taking their call.
But it's not that he's taking their call. It's they go, we need to make sure we put this guy on with somebody who will allow him to fire up that side. So there's an argument. They don't like NBC also profits from making the right also profits from letting the right come on there and spew some of their bullshit sometimes.
Yeah, you're right. I'm wrong.
They need a show, man. They need a show on November 3rd, 4th, 5th. They're going to need the argument afterwards. They're going to play up all the goofy bullshit to make it look like, oh, what's going to happen? I don't know. You're going to have to tune in to keep up with what's happening.
Man, I know that there's no profit in this, but the ethical thing would be just to like pitch like it's a blowout. Tell everybody it's a blowout. Hey, you still got to vote, but it's a blowout.
We're just not gonna tell you which way.
Yeah, we're not gonna tell you vote. It's a blowout, and relax, because 2020 has had enough fucking drama. How about we don't need a fucking horse race in the election. We need a peaceful night on November 3rd. Like I'm intense. I'm literally, people keep saying we're not going to know the result of the election for a week. That's what everybody hopes. I don't think that's true, actually. The more I think about it, the more that what the GOP is doing right now, I feel pretty strongly that it's going to be such a blowout that we will know election night, that it's not even going to, we're not going to have to be counting votes.
That is,
I would be shocked. I would be shocked if it was far off from that.
That is lovely. That is lovely sentiment. You are ever the optimist, and I appreciate that about you.
I felt that way before the pandemic.
I know. A little more locally, the heat is back in Chicago again. There was a 20-year-old who got shot last weekend. It happened, I think, Friday after the show happened. And he got shot. The information about how it all went down or what happened is still questionable. I still don't know if the guy even had a weapon on him. Like, I'm still not quite sure.
Lightfoot said demonstrably that he did, but that means shit to me. The police, we're like literally taking police word for it, and we know Chicago police specifically lie about this shit. I mean, we just had a situation just a couple years ago. They shot a guy 17 times, I believe.
Right.
And lied for a year.
Yeah.
About the circumstances of that. So I don't give a fuck how strongly she words it. I don't believe you. And until I see the footage, until I see that this guy had a weapon and shot at these cops, there's no reason why the cops recorder should have been off. They're getting shot at. Why the fuck would they turn it off?
Well, that's the biggest issue.
That's the evidence they need.
That's the biggest issue, is that, again, we're in a situation where there's no body cameras on in a major urban city where there's shooting happening. Why is it that there's all these opportunities where shooting is happening where body cameras are off? That just doesn't. I thought we had just decided that we weren't doing that anymore.
I think this is the law. Like, we're always talking about shit and people don't have solutions. I got a solution, Bobby. It should automatically be considered murder if a cop's body cam is off, unless it could be proven that it was like it got shot off in the middle of the thing, like literally all the shit got ripped out, blah blah blah.
I would take that.
Like, it should be considered murder first, because
you'd have to prove otherwise or something. Like, I mean,
like anybody fucking else.
I think constitutionally that's an issue, but you'd have to. But I mean, like, as far as like, yes, you'd have to deal with defending it in court. You'd have to be charged, and then it's an automatic murder charge if you don't have your body camera on. Here's
the legal justification that I'm trying to stitch together. Consider it just like a DUI, and you didn't take the breathalyzer. You're automatically your license suspended immediately, and you're presumed guilty because you didn't take it. You have to get a lawyer and blah blah blah. It could be the same fucking thing. Like, as a driver, I don't drink. If I get pulled over and get asked to take a breathalyzer, I have to take a breathalyzer. If I don't, my license is immediately suspended. Like,
I agree with the idea of suspending somebody's license. Like, if you're a police officer, you have your body cam on and you shoot somebody, I think that you should, it's an automatic, you will be charged with murder, manslaughter, whatever the case may be, and your license is suspended immediately pending that investigation. That I would be told. If your body camera's off and it's not malfunction, automatic charge no matter what. You're going to have to deal with that in court because your body camera's off, and that's how you'll have to defend your murder of this person, is in a court charge.
And also, I would want that the malfunction would have to be, because these things don't malfunction. Like, I've seen the TV show Cops. Those motherfuckers can have this shit on that survives them hopping fences and running and all shit. They don't lose a motherfucker. Ain't no footage lost.
I mean, not that many. How come they're always malfunction when you're shooting black people? How does that happen? Considering you apparently killed so few.
The bug is a bug in the system. It's like, as soon as you shoot a black dude, like, you go back and the camera's off.
Yeah. The stuff did start pushing towards Inglewood. Inglewood pushed all the protesting out of there. They did not want that in their neighborhood, which I think is good for them. Inglewood has enough trouble. And while Inglewood, the fact that Inglewood exists isn't the reason why the police are a problem. So the protesting should be happening at the police station, not in neighborhoods where, if it is if infiltrators make it bigger than it is, then
Or if
Inglewood
the
is going
police
to burn.
themselves make it bigger than.
Well, that's what I mean.
Oh,
Those are
okay.
the infiltrators I was speaking of. Was the police? That's who I thought was the issue. Yeah, it's just local cops been fucking up everywhere, and I've seen in local groups that are conservative in the Chicago area, like local community groups where a lot of cops live. People have made all types of statements about just shoot them, start shooting them. There's a Colorado police officer who got suspended after saying "kill them all" on a Facebook live stream of a Black Lives Matter protest. The open and willingness for people to just think that the appropriate response to somebody protesting or looting is to just shoot them is uncomfortable, bare minimum, and insane on any level beyond that.
The only space where I feel like it's justifiable to have the attitude of just shoot them is if somebody comes into your property, I should say, not onto your property, but into your property. Like somebody's robbing your house or somebody you feel like you're being attacked in your home. You don't know if that person's there for the TV or to attack you. Shoot them. Outside of that, when it's property involved, who gives a fuck, man? It's a TV. It's a fucking chain. It's a whatever. Like nobody gives a fuck. It's all insured. It's some and here's a little inside baseball. Some of these businesses that we're going out of business, we can't fucking rebuild. Either they didn't have insurance, and that's on them. That's not on the looters. That's on them. Or they were going out of business any motherfucking way, and they're using this shit as an excuse.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not gonna get into a side. I was about to say a certain business in Chicago that went under that everybody's like, and they're blaming COVID. And I'm like, motherfucker, you have this size that you could have got money for COVID. Y'all going under because you had other problems going on, and you
right.
As an excuse.
Y'all
Comedy
shitty.
related. So if you any comics watching this, you know what fucking place I'm talking about.
What's dumb is how they try and flip shit in the meantime. There's a kid named Hinnant who was murdered. He was a 5-year-old white kid in North Carolina. He was shot by a black guy for reasons that we still don't know. And there is this crazy outpouring in the last 24 hours of people crying out about why it's not been in the news, even though when I searched for the kid's name, it seemed to pop up in every major news outlet. And, again, it's one of these things where why are white people so unoriginal about certain shit? Can you help me? And this is a weird place to ask the question, but I feel like I need to because
I honestly think it's because these specific white people, and we got to figure out, like, just like we come up with pejoratives, we got to figure out like a word for like a way to separate white people.
I mean, we do it in writing all the time.
Yeah, but because I don't like, I'm starting not to like. Just like all black people aren't the same, all Hispanic people aren't the same, all white people aren't the same.
There's no monoliths of anybody. I mean, that's the whole point of what
the racists are unoriginal because they don't care enough. Like they don't care enough to learn enough about us to create like some shit that actually might have some merit. So they just go to the same old tropes because the last time they tried to pay attention was 10 years ago. So they fucking go to whatever it was 10 years ago and assume it's the same because that's how little they care and know.
The difference between this situation and the ones that have created all the protests and rioting and looting is that it took 3 months for Ahmaud Arbery's killers to be charged. And they caught this dude in less than 24 hours with an all-out manhunt, and he's being held in jail with no bond. He is also not a cop or former cop. He's just a man who probably has some issues that need to be dealt with. And whether that, although I'm, in the end a prison abolitionist, if that means he's got to be somewhere.
Or was it a stray? I thought it was a stray.
The story kind of seems like he just popped dude and just walked back over to his yard.
Wow.
Which is, I mean, to me, that points at signs of like all of the types of problems going on, right? Like, because nobody who's of sound mind goes out and just shoots a 5-year-old in the head. Like, that's not the way that you even hate white people if you're going to hate white people, right? Like, that's not any pattern of white people hate that I've seen. We're just like, we're just going to kill a kid. Like, that sounds like somebody who has some other issues that need to be dealt with. And regardless of that, they went and got dude right away, and now he can't get out. He didn't get to go keep doing his job for months afterwards. He didn't get to continue on. He didn't get to be turned into a meme by Bobby Budge yet. He literally like they got him. So there's what's there to be outraged about? A bad thing happened. Justice is being served right away at as quick a speed as you would want to. And
but
I bet
they want more tears, Bobby.
And I bet dude's gonna go to jail, and he's gonna and you know, under the current punishment systems, he's gonna get the current punishments as they exist.
One of the biggest problems with their fake outrage is they want to come to us and they go, "What about this?" And we're like, and our response is, "That's fucking horrible. The guy should go to jail." Like,
also, he is like, it's not like he's running around free.
But they act as if they think that we're going to defend him or say it's okay or like. Well,
that's
what about like? I'm not coming back with a what about. I agree with you. This is horrible. Like, well, the point. We're not doing this against you. We're not fucking upset about police brutality because we're against white people. We don't want to fucking get killed by cops. Like we like I was just trying to. Bobby, I was just trying to imagine. Here's a visual. Everybody that watches this, here's a visual that you've never seen. Have you ever seen a cop risking his life to protect a black family? Like, I'm just saying, like, I'm sure it happens.
I haven't seen a lot of cops actually risking their life in video a whole lot. That's not.
I'm saying, but with a black family, specifically a black family.
I know what I'm telling you is I don't know if I recall being present to watch a cop in action risk their life for anything specifically.
I'm not talking about a real life. I'm talking about even in a movie, Bobby. Like the image of a cop. Here's the thing.
What's your point? I mean, what's the point?
Here's my point. Here's my point. That we have a different relationship with the cops. The cop, like
that's a long way to get to that. You could have just said that.
no, because the reason why I went that way is because I'm illustrating the fact that, like I can't think of a good reason. I've said this before. I can't think of a good reason that I would call the police to my home.
No.
Like or for anything. I can't to come to help me. That's how our relationship is with the cops, and that's insane. I pay a fuck ton of taxes, man. Like, are you kidding me? I don't get to take advantage of. Naperville has the highest paid cops in the state of Illinois. I don't get any of that.
Right. Yeah. You have to live in constant fear of that.
Constant fear.
Yeah. I mean, you know, the relationship is different. The result is different. I mean, the simple fact is look at the results that happened in this situation and look at what's been happening with the ones that we're having a problem with. It's not a difficult thing to figure out the difference in those two things. They push a lot of bullshit, man. They've there's a group QAnon out there. Amazingly, now that it's election time again, all of a sudden child sex trafficking has become the most important thing in their minds. It's a thing that's important. But again, this goes back to that same shit that like, this is why they feel that way when it comes to when they bring up like whataboutism shit, because the story that gets fed to them is that we are cool with everything. Like I see people even writing about this sex trafficking and pedophilia thing where they're like, and there's people out there trying to say that it's okay and it's just a lifestyle and it's just a whatever. And it's like, the only people trying to say that are pedophiles. There's nobody.
Yeah. It's a very, very small group.
Even people that
the Catholic. I was about to make.
I'm waiting for the background change that shows that things are happening. No, the issue is like that they believe that because we think that people who are pedophiles shouldn't just be slaughtered, that we believe that like it's a mental disorder or it's something that deserves like therapeutic help, that we are weak in the area. And they take that to mean that we think it's okay when we're trying to explain that this is a problem that needs to be dealt with in a way that's other than just, we're just going to murder this person. Like that is not, you can look at someone who says they're an adult who says they're attracted to kids and not say you should die, right? You can look at them and go, oh, we should get you help for that. Like that's just a different approach to it, right? And so like, but they look at that and they treat that the same way that they treat this child sex trafficking thing. They think that like they get fed that same line that like they're for open borders, they're for letting adults fuck kids,
you're doing a brilliant job of kind of like painting the picture of why they choose to believe this or what they're being fed and like where they're coming from. Bobby, they're fucking morons. Okay.
Of course. Yeah, of course they are.
Like I just give you an example.
I'm not trying to argue against them being morons. I'm just telling you.
Yeah, where the moron.
But there's also what happens though is like here's what happens though. There's a lot of moms though who like this happens every cycle, right? 4 years ago there were women who weren't mothers. Now there's women who are new mothers. There are people who are like in there like living it. Everybody's at home right now. It's really easy to get all this shit out there. Mom sees shit about child sex trafficking. That's terrible. It is terrible. They're piggybacking on tragedy and then building out bigger shit. But here's how it costs them. There is a member of QAnon who got involved in an actual child kidnapping case. A woman in Douglas County, Colorado, allegedly plotted a raid to kidnap her son from foster care with the help of QAnon. This is a lady who had her kid taken from her because she was they had figured out that she was doing the the Munchausen by proxy syndrome.
Oh, wow.
They realized that that's what was going on. She'd already, I think, had one child taken away from her before. She bought a gun while they were going through figuring out whether she was going to be able to keep her kid or not. And that's when the judge was like, well, you can't have your kid.
Well, you just made this easy. This is usually a pretty tough thing.
But like, this is how twisted around it gets. She got so wrapped up in all the QAnon political theory shit that she like lost her shit. And she was not mentally in a place where she should be holding on to her kid. And so she probably spun some story about child trafficking that was going on. And it's like, that's not what's happening. Okay. Most of the things that are happening to children that are unseemly in that way are happening by relatives and family friends and people who are close in the community. It's not like people are stealing children and selling them off to India every day. There is
some of that.
Yes, there's some of it, but the majority of pedophilia cases that are happening in this country is your uncle.
You know. Yeah. It's somebody you know. It's somebody you already know. I mean,
come on, stop. You know what I mean? There's not a billion kids being farmed out to India every day from the United States. That's just
You're right.
Yeah. But that's a picture they're painting, and they're also trying to paint it like people on the left.
The reason why I want to acknowledge that it does happen to some degree is because when you say it's not happening at all, like when the way you reacted to it, then that's when they go, and then they pull up like one article. And
but that also doesn't mean that I don't give a fuck about pedophilia or sex trafficking. That's also like a way to try and act like somebody. Like that's also like making an excuse for morons.
Yeah, it's completely stupid. Hey, I got a question. This is slightly it's on this topic, slightly different perspective.
Yeah.
How do you feel if you're talking about somebody sick and they need therapy or something wrong with them because they're this? How would you feel about a sex doll, but that it's a child?
Oh,
it's a doll.
I don't feel comfortable with that.
I don't either, but it seems like that almost seems like a solution, right?
I don't know. I am not sure. I know there are some therapies that are out there that have been tried. There's some stuff overseas. I know there's a difference between having an attraction to children and acting on it. There's some people that admittedly say they have an attraction, but they never act on it. I don't know how to deal with all that. I think it's a sad, sick thing. And some of it is compulsive, and some of it is because someone's got disorders, and some of it is because like there's a lot of
something happened to them.
There's a lot. Well, and there's a lot of issues with people that have personality disorders that make them extremely impulsive. And the impulsive part of a personality disorder can create a situation in which you act in a way that later on you're like, fuck. And that is sad too. But that doesn't mean that that you should put them with children. It just means that you should be able to find them better help, and that the answer shouldn't be death or like, you know what I mean? Like that's crazy to me. I think that's out of this. It's this weird thing where they try and go for it.
I just realized if somebody did make quote unquote that type of dial, don't have to market
that at all. That is not a thing. I have no interest.
I'm trying to fix a situation. I'm not trying to. I don't know. I'm trying to fix a horrible situation.
I don't want to be the guy who's got to be responsible for coming up with solutions. I just know those are human beings that probably would not want to do something that is that harmful if they knew better. For the most part, if they if they could grasp the reality of what's going on, or if they could fathom like doing that a different way. But I don't know what the exact solution is. I just know that like assuming that people that aren't talking about it every second of every day doesn't mean that they're for it. I do know that. I do know that.
Yeah.
I also know that's been used to drown out other issues that are going on, like Black Lives Matter, like the fact that COVID is still killing 1,000 people a day.
The
Like
fucking Pizzagate thing, the Pizzagate part of all this shit is so fucking stupid because the fucking place got raided by a guy who
he went and shot up the place.
Yeah, the only thing he did was figure out a way to fuck up his white privilege. Like he no longer gets to be a white guy that's free. He's in jail now because he scared a bunch of people because he went to a fucking pizza place looking for a kiddie porn ring, a kid trafficking ring, and all he found was a fucking pizza place. And they cleared the place out and let him search the place because, like, what else are you gonna do? He walked in with like an AK-47 and shit.
He shot in there. He fired a shot
Like
in their pizza place. No, I think he shot a lock off of a door because he thought it was a door to a basement. It turned out it was just their coat closet. It was the only locked door that they had in the building. And it was to where their coat closet shit was and like the storage. And he shot the lock off, and that's why he got arrested. There is no basement to Comet Pizza in Washington, D.C., like hidden or otherwise. There is no basement there. So yeah. And well, the other thing too is like that came up a few months before the election in 2016. And it was put out there, this big deal, all of a sudden child sex trafficking. Here we are again, a few months before an election. None of these people gave a fuck about child sex trafficking 2 years ago. Nobody. They had stopped talking about that shit. Just like this will also disappear in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's bananas. I had a homie, the Connect, asked me about that shit like 3 weeks ago out of the blue. And I was like, what the fuck? I was like, where the fuck did that come from? And he's just like, you heard about that before? Years ago? Like, why are you talking about it now?
Yeah.
And he tells me that a couple other people that he knows are talking about it, and it just blew my mind. I can't believe that it's back.
It's
or
weird.
Actually it never left. It's somehow I don't know how
since there were adults and children, it's been a concern. It's not like a thing that just started in 2000.
I'm talking about specifically the Pizzagate part of it. The Pizzagate part of it. How that all of a sudden made. And you know what? This is the thing that pisses me off. This is what I was saying about when I was saying that they're morons is they go through all this in this. This is the same thing I always say about the right, Bobby. It's always some fucking convoluted shit that you have to believe. It's a Rube Goldberg machine that doesn't work.
Why do you think it's so difficult for people that believe that an omnipotent being made a human child to die for our sins? Why do you think it's so hard for them to believe in other weird shit that take giant
because
leaps?
At least that one comes with literature. There's a book.
They got a book.
Yeah. But no,
they got a couple of books.
But then when he says shit like I wish Ghislaine
Ghislaine.
I wish Ghislaine Maxwell well, I like her, blah blah blah. That just totally that's nothing. That's nothing. But they get excited about Jeffrey Epstein. They wanted to put Jeffrey Epstein with Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton and all stuff. Well, here's Trump saying, I'm friends with her. I like her. She's a good person. A reporter's like, dude, she's up for horrible shit. And he's like, yeah, but she's my nigga.
I think we have a sign that things are this might be like the end of the year might be working our way. It was reported this morning that the Bulls fired Jim Boylan. Did you see it?
Yes.
I'm very excited about this.
So excited. They kind of put it out there cold too, man. Like it was a Bulls Twitter official. He's been relieved of his. Nigga, that's not a press release. What the fuck is that? Like, I
love it.
I find professional coaches being fired, like, we always try to think that we're a society. We have like certain levels of shit. And we have character and stuff. We do not, because professional. That's a man lost his job. That nigga got a family and shit. You know what I'm saying? He got dreams and hopes too. We celebrating him losing his job. I'm happy he lost his job. He was bad at it. But like the way that the Bulls they didn't put out a fucking statement like, hey, Jim Boylan helped out the young team. They play hard and blah, blah, blah. They were just like, hey, we let that nigga go.
Yeah, he gone. Fuck that dude.
Hey, heads up. Jim don't work here no more. Peace. That was like basically the tweet. It's so
I like
disrespectful. It's so disrespectful, though.
Yeah, but I'm glad he's fucking gone.
I'm so glad
I'm
he's
so
gone.
glad he's gone. They
I
can
really
actually
like
get a
the
real
new
coach
president.
in.
Dude, I love the new president. The new
Karnasovis.
Yeah, the new GM was very highly also touted, but everything the new president has done coming in the door, hiring a black GM, getting rid of, Boylan, and also talking about like different changes. I'm excited about. I don't give a fuck if we get the 7th pick for the 4th year in a row in the draft. If we get the 7th pick for the 4th year in a row in the draft, I bet you it's a good one this time.
Yeah.
Well, it's been actually I don't have a problem with the picks that we had in the past in the 7th pick, but I also think that this is going to change our free agent struggles.
I would hope so.
I think this dude is highly respected in a way that I don't believe Jim Paxton was.
Yeah,
and,
this will change a lot of things there.
And unfortunately, Paxton never wanted to see it. Like there were people basically openly taking shots at him, players making comments and shit. And he'd always kind of be like, well, that's not what we hear. Like, no, they're not going to say that to you. You write the check. You sign the checks, my dude. Like, no, they ain't going to say that shit to you. No, man. You sign that check? No, man, I'm happy here. It's good.
They've upgraded their shit a lot here in the last couple months. I would like to see them. The bubble is the best thing that could have happened to them. Not going into the bubble to play, the best thing they could have done. Because they were to look around some of the coaching in the bubble and go, we can do better than this guy, right? This is for sure. If we want to be up in with those guys, we gotta get a better coach.
I wonder how much Thibodeau going to the Knicks had to do with Boylan getting gone. Because Thibodeau going to the Knicks means the Knicks are going to be competitive.
Well, it also means that the Knicks.
But I think he's a good coach. I think he works his players, but he's a good coach. He's going to make them good.
It also means the Knicks proved that he was willing to get another shot. They were like, oh no, he's a worthy coach. He's such a worthy coach that we're going to hire him. And the Bulls were like, oh, right. Like we had him and now he's gone. So you were talking about Fortnite earlier. Did you see what happened with them? Did you see what happened in the last like day and a half?
But this is your bailiwick, baby. So I'm gonna
let you know how video games work. They so Fortnite is a game that's on Epic Games. If you have a kid or if you have fun in video games, you are familiar with it. They have it's cross-platform, so you can play it on pretty much anything. And they were also available in the Android and Google like app stores, so you could buy them and play them on like your tablets or your phone or whatever. And of course, if there were just these congressional hearings a couple weeks ago with the big four, talking about Apple was specifically explaining their model and how they charge 30% on the cost of things in their app store. Well, Fortnite figured out a way to get around it because that was money they were losing, to where they essentially created their own like pay setup in the actual game. So you didn't have to go through the app store to buy additional shit. So like when you want a new character skin or you wanted something else, usually you had to buy that through the app store, and Apple was taking 30% of it.
Yeah.
And Google was taking 30% of it. And the rules of those places specifically state you can't set up another way for people to pay. And so they've been doing that. And so in a fight with Google and Apple, Apple and Google both delisted them from their app stores. And so now, which is an issue. I mean, it's a big fight, man. This is exactly the fight. Someone needed to fight them first. Someone needed to be the first to fight Apple and Google on this money.
And Epic Games is definitely in a position to do it. They have several very popular games. People are going to go download those games regardless of Google or Apple's move. So I'm excited to see this, because when shit like this happens, I like when stuff like this happens, because other big game makers will also get ballsy and start figuring out stuff. And then that's going to force Apple and Google to make some changes. And that usually means better stuff for the customer.
Yeah, what that will hopefully lead to is more smaller companies that need breaks when it comes to that money, getting those breaks. If you look up the hashtag free Fortnite anywhere, you may find the video they shot. Remember that old Apple commercial from 1984 where there's like a black and white meeting and there's a robot speaking in the front and they throw like a hammer through it? So I turned on Fortnite yesterday. They had a video that was similar to that, where it was like their characters were all sitting in a room and one of their main character like walked in there and did that same thing and like threw it up at the screen and broke it, and it was just like it's hilarious, dude. You gotta find it's on YouTube. You can find it. If you look up 1980 Fortnite, you'll find it on YouTube.
That's dope.
And you can see it on there. It's just super smart, man. It's going to be necessary. That's the type of fight that needs to happen for something like that to get down. So one last thing I want to talk about before we get out of here. Good humor has it's weird the type of shit that you get when you start trying to make social change. Good humor. If you've gotten ice cream from an ice cream truck anytime in recent history, you've heard a song that's been played. That song was
in ever history, actually. In forever history.
It's a minstrel song. It was a song that was used in minstrel shows. Good Humor recognized this. They sent a message out to all the ice cream truck operators that was basically like, listen, we know we don't own trucks anymore, but it'd be cool if you stopped playing that song and played this and played this jingle made by the RZA instead. They got the RZA from Wu-Tang Clan.
I did not know the RZA made.
They got the RZA from Wu-Tang Clan to make the jingle for the Good Humor trucks.
Shit ain't nothing to fuck with. Ice cream trucks ain't nothing to fuck with. That's what's up, Riz.
It's so hilarious, man. It's so hilarious.
That's dope. Yeah, I've known forever that song was racist. It's crazy.
Turkey on the Straw, I think, is what it's called, right?
It's crazy, insane when you start peeling back the layers of shit. How many things have racist origins, and that there's stuff that as a black person that I was okay with and like I was part of, and I was like, wait a minute, that was what?
Yeah.
Oh, god damn it. I can't do that anymore.
I like that. That's kind of fun.
So many. I mean, who doesn't know that song? What kid hasn't heard that sound and either dashed outside to go get something or dashed to their parents to go get money so they could dash outside to go get something? So, like, it's fucked up. It's that's
gotta learn the new jingle.
And all this racism and shit does. I love that song. I have great memories with that song. That song was fucking oppressing me.
The microaggression of the music of our youth. Hey, man, where can they catch you online and see some more hilarity from you?
At XL Comedy on IG, the Twitters, and also on Facebook if you have to.
You can catch me at mocha_Jesus on Twitter and Instagram. You can catch the podcast at New OGs Pod on Twitter and Instagram. We put YouTube videos up during the week. There are midweek minis. It's the only way you're going to see them. You can catch our audio wherever you listen to pods. All our old episodes are on there. We go live on here on the New OGs page, on People of Comedy's page. We go live on Twitch and YouTube, I think, every week. So catch us wherever you can. Go to People of Comedy. Check out all of their other great shows. And catch us back here next Friday. We're back here talking more shit about everything going on in the world.
I just always last thing before I go, always shout out my boys at Authentic Cuts Naperville.
Hopefully y'all been paying attention.
They ending the show.
GetToZanies.com. That's what's up.
I feel like Nelly when he dropped that country grammar. Fuck the rumors, give a fuck about a story told. Why you so mad that I can't fit you on my schedule? Why you jealous? Thought you knew that I would never fold. So many doubted, fuck them all. Now they gon' have to pay our tickets, sell our shows before we hit the road. They said we couldn't do it, now we do it just to say we did it. Fuck a credit.